I didn't plan on buying a corpse, I mean, who would? But that's the sort of thing you tell yourself until you've been sucked in, ensnared by some impulse that doesn't seem like your own. And for me, it all started at that strange late-night auction, hidden in the basements beneath Old Town. The basement was thick with heat, despite the rain hammering down outside. A crowd of faces I didn't recognize loomed in shadows, whispering as they held up numbered paddles. Cracked chandeliers swung overhead, casting flickering lights on objects laid out before us, objects none of us should have been there to buy. Each one came with a backstory, handwritten on brittle parchment, describing curses, hexes, and long histories of misfortune. Each object was said to be possessed, inhabited by something unspeakable. When the corpse was brought out, the room went quiet.
Lot 45, we present the veiled body, a specimen discovered in the 1800s, perfectly preserved, cursed and never buried. The family who kept it, all dead, bidders are warned.
People shifted in their seats, uneasy. I should have left right then, but I didn't. The auctioneer's voice droned on.
Let's start the bid at $100. Do I hear 100?
My hand shot up before I realized what I was doing.
Sold.
That night, I brought the body home. It lay heavy in a long, wood-paneled crate, its face covered with a yellowed linen veil. I didn't dare lift it, though I felt it calling to me somehow.
Are you really going to keep that thing in your house?
My friend Lisa asked when I called her the next day. It's just an old body. Think of it like an artifact, I said, though my words felt flimsy even to me.
An artifact that supposedly killed a family. You've officially lost it, Ben.
But I couldn't shake the feeling of attachment. That night I heard soft rustling in my living room just beyond my bedroom door. When I checked, everything was still, yet a faint smell of rot lingered in the air. 3 days in, the disturbances began in earnest. First, it was my cat, Moxie. She hissed every time she entered the room with the body, her fur standing on end as she stared at it, growling like she'd seen something I couldn't. Then one night she disappeared. No trace of her, just a single paw print in the dust that seemed to trail toward the body and then vanished. And the body itself, it looked different. Was it closer to the edge of the crate? I'd measured it, even taken photos. It should have been exactly where it was before, but I swore it was closer. I shook off the feeling. But by the next morning, I couldn't ignore it any longer. The body's face seemed to have shifted, its features somehow blurring into something more alive. I decided to contact a local historian named Dr. Connolly, a man known for his work with cursed artifacts.
Are you saying it's moving?
He asked, clearly skeptical. Yes, I've documented it, I replied, desperate for validation. And I've followed all the care instructions. It's still wrapped, veiled. But the smell, it's like it's rotting anew. Dr. Connolly was silent for a moment.
There's a legend associated with such artifacts. A veiled corpse can supposedly reflect the living and consume what they love most.
Consume? My stomach tightened.
Blood sacrifices, whispers in the dark. These things feed off attachments, taking on aspects of their owner. If you wish to end this, you need to perform a separation ritual.
I should have been terrified. I should have thrown that corpse out then and there. But something about his words felt like a challenge. The instructions for the ritual were simple enough. I would need 3 items: a mirror, a candle, and a drop of blood.
Only a single drop.
Dr. Connolly had stressed, his voice deadly serious.
This is not a game. Make the cut on your finger, just a touch. Any more, and the link might become irreversible.
I waited until midnight, the room dim except for the flickering candle beside the crate. I pressed the knife to my finger, watching as a single bead of blood blossomed and dropped onto the body's veil. The candle sputtered, casting eerie shadows, and I whispered the words Dr. Connolly had given me. They were old, foreign, alien. The air grew thick, almost choking. Then something whispered back. At first I thought I imagined it. A soft hiss, faint but deliberate, like the scrape of skin on bone. Then I heard it again, unmistakable this time, a breathy, rattling sound from the crate, and the veil shifted, just a little, as if whatever lay beneath it had taken its first breath in centuries. Ben? The voice was mine, unmistakably my own. I stumbled backward, cold sweat prickling my skin. It came again, quieter now, echoing through the room. Ben? I grabbed my phone and dialed Lisa's number, desperate for something to ground me. When she picked up, she didn't even let me speak.
Ben, are you all right? Her voice was tight, almost frantic. I had the worst nightmare about you and...
Her words trailed off as a cold breeze swept through my room. I felt the same tug, a pull toward the crate that seemed stronger than ever.
Lisa, listen to me, I whispered, my voice barely audible. I need you to come over. I think I need help.
There was silence on her end, and then she said,
Ben, your voice. It sounds different.
Her words chilled me, and I hung up. Something inside me knew that inviting her over would be a mistake. In the days that followed, I felt the corpse's influence seep deeper into my life. My reflection in the mirror grew gaunt, hollow-eyed, like I hadn't slept in weeks. And the strangest part? Every morning, the body looked a little more alive, mirroring my own face in sickening ways. One morning, I awoke to find clumps of hair scattered across my pillow, and when I looked in the mirror, a matching bald patch was etched on the corpse's scalp, raw and pink like a fresh wound. "What do you want from me?" I shouted one night, desperation clawing at my voice.
I am you, Ben. I'm everything you will become.
I staggered backward, heart pounding as my mind spun. In a flash, I understood. It wasn't just reflecting me, it was replacing me. By the end of the month, I was barely recognizable. Friends and family stopped visiting, their calls unanswered. I couldn't bear to leave the corpse alone, terrified of what it would do in my absence. My body grew weaker, my skin pale and papery, as if the life were being drained from me with every passing day. And each night I'd hear it whisper, taunting me, feeding on my fear. Finally, I reached a breaking point. I didn't care about the consequences. I was getting rid of the corpse once and for all. But when I tried to lift the crate, it wouldn't budge. The wood felt like stone, rooted to the floor as if it had become part of the house itself. In a final act of desperation, I ripped off the veil. What I saw underneath haunts me to this day. The face was mine, my features twisted and rotten, eyes sunken and hollow.
Thank you for bringing me back.
Before I could react, the world spun and everything went black. When I came to, I was lying in the crate. I tried to scream, to move, but my body felt stiff as if bound in place by invisible chains. Over me, a new veil was draped, and through the thin fabric, I saw a figure standing over me, my own reflection, alive and well, looking down with a wicked smile.
Thank you, Ben. Now rest.
And then the lid closed, sealing me in darkness. I write this now from somewhere beyond, my voice trapped, unable to scream or be heard. I am nothing but a shadow, a whisper from beneath the veil, trapped in a cage I cannot escape. If you ever see an auction for a cursed body, turn and run. Don't let it lure you in. Don't let it steal what makes you, you. Because once it does, there's no coming back. Just as my mind settled into the quiet, endless dark, a faint scratching sound broke the silence, a rhythm, almost a code. My heart surged with a flicker of hope. Could someone be out there? Desperately, I tried to move my stiff fingers, forcing them against the wood, tapping in return. But then the scratching changed, taking on a pattern that felt familiar.
Ben?
The voice echoed from above, muffled, distorted, but I recognized it. It was Lisa. I tried to scream, but the words caught in my throat, nothing but a silent rasp. I felt her presence just above me, her voice tense as she spoke in a strange, almost chanting whisper. But then, something twisted in my mind, a memory, long buried, flooding back. I remembered the night I'd called her, desperate, scared. Her voice had sounded different that night. It was then I realized Lisa had known about the curse all along. She'd been the one who told me about the auction, subtly planting the idea, encouraging my curiosity about the unknown. And now, she was here, finishing whatever ritual I'd unknowingly started. Suddenly, the scratching stopped, and Lisa's voice came again, soft and chilling.
Goodbye, Ben, or should I say hello?
As her voice faded, a faint glow seeped through the crate, illuminating the corpse's reflection, a shadowy silhouette, shifting to reveal a figure stepping closer. My own twisted face stared back, smirking. Lisa's plan had worked. She'd freed the curse to take me, binding my soul beneath the veil so that the cycle could continue. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more haunting tales from my sick and demented mind. A special shout-out goes to Del Gibson from the Horror Central Facebook group. Thank you for supporting me on my fledgling journey to YouTube stardom. Your encouragement keeps the scares coming, and I couldn't do it without you and all the amazing horror fans who believe in this channel. Stay tuned, and remember, sometimes it's better not to look too closely into the shadows.